Good morning. I'm Caryn Hughes, Chairman of the Board of the Montgomery Area Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber works to drive economic growth to build a better quality of life in the capital city and region. At the very heart of our region is a school system that serves some 26,000 students. It is a system that is the cornerstone of our regional workforce, and it is currently in a state of crisis. The coalition you see today is united in working together for Montgomery. United, we have been able to achieve great momentum. Most recently, Meta's $800 million investment shows the power of partnership working together for progress. The game-changing Meta project and others like it have been won by the Chamber because of the work of this team. Economic development and community prosperity are built upon education. In 2022, a united community effort resulted in the recruitment of a world-class superintendent to lead Montgomery Public Schools through one of the most critical times in its history. On the heels of a historic tax referendum and the end of a state takeover of a struggling system. That world-class superintendent was Dr. Melvin Brown. To now lose this great leader, not because he was recruited away, but because he has been driven away by 4 elected members of our own Board of Education, has shocked and frustrated the coalition you see standing here today. Last week, the Chamber, joined by many of these same leaders, appealed to the Montgomery County Board of Education to recognize the significant impacts of Dr. Brown and the professional team he has built to lead our system through transformation. But at that Board of Education meeting, 4 members of MPS board demonstrated every reason why this superintendent or any future superintendent would choose to look elsewhere. This morning, the Chamber approved the following resolution that joins all of us, business and elected leadership, in calling upon the Montgomery County Board of Education for swift action, and we presented these concerns to Alabama Superintendent of Education, Dr. Eric Mackey. The resolution is as follows. Be it now resolved that the Montgomery Area Chamber of Commerce, representing more than 90,000 employees, 1,600 companies, elected leadership, and a public-private partnership united in moving Montgomery forward, calls upon the Montgomery County Board of Education to reconsider its conduct and actions that led to the resignation of Superintendent Dr. Melvin Brown. We urge the 4 members of the Montgomery County Board of Education who acted to accept Dr. Brown's resignation last week to reassess the serious setbacks their action will inflict upon Montgomery Public Schools students and the ability of the district to retain and/or recruit future leadership. There is no evidence that the 4 members of the Board of Education responsible for this crisis of leadership have a plan, nor have they demonstrated they are open to collaboration with other community leaders to find a way forward. These 4 members of the Board of Education last week told elected and business leaders that we have no business and they're in their business. Today, we say to the Montgomery Board of Education, the business of education is indeed everyone's business, and we stand ready to assist in finding solutions to the current leadership crisis. Be it further resolved that this united Montgomery leadership delegation calls upon State of Alabama Superintendent of Education, Dr. Eric Mackey, and the State of Alabama Department of Education and Board to place MPS under state control and intervention. Until such time, the local board demonstrates that a majority of leadership will make the needed changes to move Montgomery forward in a true spirit of partnership. Finally, we express strong appreciation to 3 members of the Montgomery County Board of Education who have worked to provide sound leadership. Chairman Brenda Coleman, Vice Chairman Cassandra Brown, and District 6 Board Member Claudia Mitchell. This resolution was adopted today, Thursday, September 26, 2024. In closing, I want to emphasize that Montgomery leaders are firm in our commitment. We want outstanding public schools and opportunities for our students. We are united in that vision. Today, we ask the Montgomery County Board of Education to join in this vision and demonstrate real leadership in moving Montgomery Public Schools forward. This concludes the announcement. The partners here representing the City Council, County Commission, State, and Alabama Education Association are going to remain available for questions and follow-ups. But I would like to turn it over to Doug Singleton, our county chairman of the County Commission, to make some comments.
Before we do that, we have Dr. Mackey who has to leave, I believe. So
Okay.
Come on, Doc.
Dr. Mackey, please join in.
That's okay.
Well, I do want to make just brief comments, and I will, not to take too much time from the chairman, but I do have another commitment I have to get to, and I'll be glad to take a couple of questions first. We have a lot of concerns at State Department. I have a lot of concerns right now because of what we see happening at MPS. As I said earlier today in the Chamber Board meeting, when we released MPS from intervention, it was touted across the country as one of the most successful school system turnarounds anywhere ever. I got calls from other state chiefs. How were we able to do that? Why was Montgomery on such a good path? Because there have been a lot of turnarounds in Alabama, a lot of them across the United States. But most of the time, within days or weeks, we began to see some of the old patterns creep back in, and they lose a lot of momentum. Montgomery didn't lose that momentum. They went out on their own without the state involvement and chose a superintendent who came in here. I think Dr. Melvin Brown's done a great job. He has moved us forward. He's begun to implement some changes, some personnel changes, some curriculum changes, some scheduling changes that are really propelling Montgomery forward. Financially, Montgomery was essentially bankrupt when the state intervention started. Just a few years later, we had turned that around. But again, and this community had invested for the first time in more than 40 years in a new property tax. But I think that we're going to have a hard time maintaining the academic momentum. We're going to have a hard time maintaining also the momentum behind the new tax and behind the investment in this community without stable leadership. And as I said before, even though Dr. Brown's resigned and said he's moving on, it sends the message to potential candidates out there that Montgomery is one of those places, as it used to be and was for about 20 years, a place where after 18 to 24 months, the board's going to get tired of you and you're going to have to sell your house and you're going to have to move on. Well, you don't really bring great candidates to the table with that kind of message across the United States. Montgomery is a state capital. It is a city very well known and followed across the country. And so we're able to attract people like Dr. Brown to apply here, and of course people from across the state who would be high quality candidates. But they're not going to apply in a place where they feel like the community and the community's elected representatives are not going to stick with them, not going to support a long-term plan for systemic improvement. And that's why I'm very concerned. As I mentioned earlier today, we've not had stable leadership in a long time. There was that one period of stability that was propped up by state intervention. But other than that period, Montgomery's not had stable leadership in a long time. We've had some good people at the helm, but they've only been there for a matter of months or a couple of years at the most, and then they're pushed out and they move on. I'm talking about good leadership, but also stable leadership. We're following this very closely. We appreciate the resolution today. I really can't react to the resolution too much without taking that back to our legal team so they can look at what methods are available to us. But I will promise this community, as a Montgomery County resident myself and a member of this chamber, that we are going to be deeply involved to try to turn this around, to make sure that Montgomery returns to stable leadership and does not lose the momentum that has been built over the last several years. And with that, Mr. Chairman, if I won't mess you up too much, I'll take a couple of questions and then I'll let you talk. If there are any questions for me. Yes, ma'am.
Readiness with WSFA. I guess if you could just respond to how concerning it is to hear that Dr. Brown did make that decision, come to find out based on emotional distress and personal attacks towards his family by members of the board.
Yeah, well, personal attacks are never acceptable, or certainly not acceptable behavior by elected officials. I mean, we elect people to be our representatives because they ought to show some professional judgment. Even if you disagree with somebody on a matter, then you've got to have the judgment that says, you know what, we're going to take our disagreements off the board table, and we're going to work together to make the right decisions for children moving forward. I'm very disappointed to hear that there have been personal attacks against Dr. Brown and his family. And again, it's not going to help us in recruiting another person if they think that those kind of attacks would come even from elected officials in the community and elected board members.
If I could follow up on that
Okay.
question, some of the board members say that standards were lowered for students, morale was low among teachers, and that they were denied access to data from Dr. Brown. What's your response to those claims?
I haven't seen any of that, and we've not had any formal complaints. Now, we get complaints from school boards on occasion to the department that they, for this or that. There have been no complaints, 0 complaints filed by the Montgomery County Board that they can't get data or they don't have the information. Again, follow the Montgomery Board pretty closely living here. I don't know where that could have come from. I have actually seen Dr. Brown in many public forums presenting more information and being more transparent than I think has been done in many administrations in the past. And the idea that they couldn't get information, also the idea that he had done something to lower standards, I think it's baseless. I don't know where do you get that? What I saw was an attempt to make some strong personnel changes and some strong curriculum changes to make sure we had the right materials in the classrooms and teachers well trained to teach those materials. So if people have evidence of something like that, they're welcome to bring it to us, but so far nobody has.
And how do you establish state leadership? Is that a challenge here in Montgomery?
So state, there is a provision, as Montgomery was taken over by the state before. We have 2 other school districts that we're administering right now, and that comes before the state school board. But before we get there, we have to have what's called a show cause letter. Obviously, we have to show why the local school board needs to be taken over. And many of you will remember when that was done originally back in 2016, actually the local school board itself came forward and said, we believe we cannot actually govern this system and we need help. And they actually came to the state board and requested help I think it was the majority of the board. I know it may have been unanimous actually. And so that was kind of a walking hand in hand. We've not had any kind of resolution from the school board like that. And otherwise we would have to look at the cause. We can't just take over a school district. I realize we have this resolution today, but we can't just take over a school district because a local chamber or mayor or county commissioner ask. I actually get that a lot from mayors and county commissioners, but we do want to work with boards to try to get them back on track. And if eventually they're not, then that's certainly something that could be on the table. It would have to go back to the state school board, though, before that could happen. Anything else from me? Thank you again to the chamber. I'm going to slip out, and I guess I'll turn it over to Commission Chairman Singleton here.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Montgomery County Commission has a long history of staying in our own lane. And I have Commissioner Harris here, who's the longest serving commissioner. I can't speak on behalf of the city of Montgomery. We do have C.C. Calhoun, the president. We have council members Beard, Riley, Johnson, and Jenwright here too. With that said, we try to stay in our own lane, but when you kind of swerve into our lane, then we do have to react if it affects us. And I'm not here today to criticize any board member. What I'm here today to do is ask the board members, they have a 5 o'clock special call meeting tonight, just to take a step back, take a breath. Don't name an interim superintendent tonight. And let's try to open up the lines of communication with Dr. Brown. Even some board members have said that Dr. Brown, and I'm not going to try to quote, but basically said that Dr. Brown was the best superintendent that we've had since the Clinton Carter days, which Dr. Mackey talked about stability-wise. So that spans many, many years and many, many superintendents. If that is true, and we all truly want what's best for our children in Montgomery County, then obviously Dr. Brown is the guy that we need to do everything we possibly can to see if we can somehow open the lines of communication and somehow work to keep him on board. I don't know if we're gonna find anybody better. So we all in this, and we all love to say, we're gonna do what's best for the children. That's what we care about. I think today's a great opportunity for all us together to work together, open up the lines of communication, and see what we can do to truly say we're gonna do everything in the best interest of the children. Is there any questions for the city council or myself or any commissioners or council people?
Yes, I have another question for you. If you can say, are you saying that you would like the board to try and bring Dr. Brown back?
I'd like the board to get the best possible person to continue to lead our children and our schools. And obviously, in the opinion of most of the people in this room and most of the people in this community, now everybody's not always gonna agree, and I respect any decision by any board member. But if we're gonna try to get the best, I think majority of the people, and the mass majority, and even on the board, based on what they have said, has already said that Dr. Brown is the best. So why don't we just try to keep him instead of going through another long national search and taking a step backwards? You know, I love seeing the signs at all the MPS schools. MPS is moving forward. We all agree we're moving forward, really for the first time in many, many years. Everybody's united. The business community, our military, our educators, our elected officials, our chamber, everybody's working together. And we're finally truly doing what I think's best for the children. So let's just take a deep breath. He's not gone. He's resigned, but he's not gone. So let's just take a breath and see if we can't open up the lines of communication. I think a lot of this was dealt with lack of communication. But it's time to quit pointing fingers, and it's time to quit blaming other people, and let's just do what's right.
Have any of you all had a chance to speak with Dr. Brown? Is he open to staying?
I speak with Dr. Brown. I've been speaking with him the last 2 or 3 months. We've really ramped up the conversations the last week or so. And I think he is. He is open. I don't think he truly was looking to leave. I think he's leaving for probably all the wrong reasons, not to criticize Dr. Brown, but I'm just saying I don't think that was all his decision to leave. And I think he's the best, and I hope we can keep him.
Okay, well, we all want what's best for Montgomery. We want what's best for our children. So I know that we can all work together and support each other and be united in this. And so thank you all for being here.